Most men believe weakness is detected through obvious failure, losing a fight, messing up publicly, showing fear openly. That belief is wrong. Weakness is almost never discovered through dramatic moments. It is discovered quietly, through testing. Human beings are constantly testing one another, often without conscious intent. This isn't cruelty, it's instinct. For thousands of years, survival depended on knowing who could be pushed, who could be relied on, and who posed a threat. That wiring never disappeared. It simply became social. Every interaction is a calibration. When someone meets you, their nervous system is asking silent questions. Can I speak freely to this man? Can I challenge him? Can I interrupt him? Can I extract something from him? They don't ask these questions verbally, they test instead. A subtle joke at your expense, a dismissive tone slipped into conversation, a delayed reply meant to see if you'll chase, an interruption to see if you'll tolerate it. None of these moments feel serious. That's why they work. Social tests are designed to fly below awareness. They are small enough to dismiss, but meaningful enough to reveal behavior. And behavior is what people study, not words. Most men fail these tests instantly, not because they lack intelligence, but because they misunderstand what is happening. They assume the moment is about content. They focus on what was said instead of why it was said. So they laugh when disrespected. They explain when challenged. They accommodate when pressured. And without realizing it, they answer the test. The answer they give is not verbal, it is emotional. It says, I am reactive. I am adjustable. I can be nudged. Once that answer is registered, the interaction changes permanently. The person testing you doesn't become hostile, they become comfortable. And comfort is dangerous because comfort removes restraint. This is why some men are endlessly teased, questioned, interrupted, or leaned on, while others are approached carefully, even when they say very little. The difference is not dominance, it is test response. Strong men are not aggressive, they are opaque. When tested, they do not rush to resolve the moment. They do not rush to explain intent. They do not rush to smooth tension. They allow uncertainty to exist. And uncertainty triggers caution. The human nervous system becomes careful around what it cannot predict. When someone cannot read your emotional response, they hesitate. That hesitation is respect forming at a subconscious level. Most men never experience this because they neutralize tension immediately. They smooth, they clarify, they justify, they repair. In doing so, they teach others exactly how to handle them. Testing is not about humiliation, it is about mapping. And once someone maps you, they don't stop using that map. In the next part, you'll learn the exact micro-tests people use every day. Tests so subtle, you've likely failed them dozens of times without ever realizing what was happening. The micro-tests people use every day and why they're so effective. Social testing rarely looks like aggression. If it did, most men would recognize it immediately. Instead, it arrives disguised as normal behavior, casual, forgettable, deniable. That's what makes it dangerous. Micro-tests are designed so that if you call them out, you look paranoid or insecure. And if you ignore them incorrectly, you signal weakness. Here are the most common ones. The joke test. Someone makes a small joke at your expense. Not cruel, not obvious, just enough to see how you react. Do you laugh too hard? Do you self-deprecate? Do you rush to show you're cool with it? That reaction tells them whether they can push further. The interruption test. They talk over you slightly, not aggressively, just enough to see if you stop speaking or fight for the floor. If you yield immediately, they learn you will retreat under pressure. If you rush to talk louder, they learn you're reactive. Both are information. The delay test. A late reply to a message, a postponed response to a request. This isn't about logistics, it's about hierarchy. Will you double text? Will you follow up anxiously? Will you lower your position to re-engage? Your behavior answers silently. The boundary test. A small request that inconveniences you, a subtle assumption of your availability. Can you just, followed by something you didn't offer. If you comply instantly, you teach people that access to you is cheap. The tone shift. A sudden coldness, a dismissive response, a slight change in warmth. This tests emotional dependency. Do you try to fix the vibe? Do you explain yourself? Do you chase harmony? Most men respond instinctively. They assume the interaction is about maintaining comfort, so they smooth it out. They compensate. They adjust themselves to restore equilibrium. And that adjustment is the failure. Because tests are not about the surface interaction, they're about leverage. The tester is not asking, is this man nice? They're asking, does pressure move him? Once pressure works, it becomes a tool. This is why the same people who treat you casually will treat someone else carefully. It's not favoritism, it's calibration. They learned where your resistance threshold is, and they stay just below it. What makes microtests especially effective is plausible deniability. If you confront them, they can say, I was just joking. I didn't mean it like that. You're overthinking. And suddenly, you're defending again. That's the trap. Strong men don't pass these tests by dominating them. They pass them by not feeding them. No overreaction, no appeasement, no emotional leak. They respond minimally or not at all. And the tester feels it. Not consciously, nervously. Because the test didn't return data. In the next part, you'll see why even men who stay calm still fail, and why emotional control alone is not enough to stop testing behavior. Why staying calm still fails, and what actually stops the tests. Most men think they understand the solution. Don't react, stay calm, control your emotions. So they try. They keep their voice steady. They force a neutral expression. They swallow irritation. And yet, the testing continues. Sometimes it even intensifies. This is where most advice collapses, because calmness is not the same as unreadability. People are not looking for noise, they are looking for leaks. And suppression leaks. When you suppress emotion instead of containing it, your body betrays you. The jaw tightens, the eyes harden, the posture stiffens. Your stillness feels tense, not grounded. The tester senses resistance, and resistance invites pressure. Why? Because resistance means engagement. A man who is suppressing is still invested in the outcome. He still wants to pass the test. He still wants approval, harmony, or control of perception. The tester feels that investment and pushes again. True test immunity comes from non-investment, not restraint. Unreadable men are not calm because they are trying to be. They are calm because they are unattached. They don't need the moment to go well. They don't need to be understood. They don't need to correct the frame. And because they don't need anything from the interaction, nothing escapes. This is the critical difference. Suppression says, "I'm holding something back." Containment says, "There is nothing for you here." Containment is silent finality. When a tester probes a contained man, the probe lands on something solid. No echo, no rebound, no emotional feedback. The nervous system of the tester registers this immediately. It feels like pushing on a wall. And human beings stop pushing on walls. This is why strong men seem boring or hard to read. Not because they lack depth, but because they don't externalize internal movement. Emotion stays internal. Thought stays private. Decisions stay closed. They do not narrate. They do not perform neutrality. They simply exist without signaling. And this creates an uncomfortable asymmetry. The tester is now exposed. They are the only one generating energy. They are the only one revealing intent. They are the only one showing emotional movement. Power begins shifting instantly. Most men never reach this stage because they are still trying to win the interaction. They want the tester to stop. They want peace. They want approval. And that desire makes them readable. Unreadability requires something colder. The willingness to let the interaction remain unresolved. No fixing, no smoothing, no emotional cleanup, just presence. In the next part, you'll learn how language itself exposes most men, and how small changes in speech patterns shut testing down without confrontation or aggression. How wow your words give you away, and how testers use them against you. Most men believe weakness is revealed through emotion. That's only half true. More often, weakness is revealed through language. Not what you say, but how much, how fast, and why you say it. People who test for weakness listen less to your message and more to your verbal behavior. Your pacing, your need to clarify, your urge to justify, your discomfort with silence. These signals expose your internal position long before the content of your words matters. The most common giveaway is over-clarification. A tester asks a simple question. Why did you do that? A grounded man answers briefly, or not at all. A readable man explains the entire backstory. He fills gaps that were never requested. He adds emotional context. He anticipates judgment and tries to neutralize it in advance. And in doing so, he hands the tester leverage. Why? Because explanation places you in a defensive frame. Defense signals that you believe judgment is valid, that you believe the other person has authority over your choices, that you need to be evaluated favorably to remain stable. Testers are not impressed by good explanations. They are empowered by the need to explain. Another verbal giveaway is tempo. Men who feel pressure speak faster. They rush to respond. They interrupt silence. Speed is not confidence. It is urgency. Urgency tells the listener that the moment matters too much to you. And when something matters too much, it can be used. Unreadable men move differently. They let silence sit. They answer slowly. They do not rush to repair tension. This does something unsettling to the tester's nervous system. Silence forces projection. When you don't explain, the other person must fill the gap with their own assumptions, and those assumptions almost always reveal more about them than about you. This is why silence feels heavy. It places psychological labor on the other person. Another language trap is emotional framing. Readable men soften statements to protect perception. "I didn't mean it that way. I hope that's okay. I might be wrong, but..." These phrases feel polite, but they signal uncertainty. They invite correction. They invite pushback. Unreadable men state without cushioning. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, simply conclusively. They understand that speech is not a place for emotional reassurance. It is a tool for decision and direction, nothing more. The final giveaway is narration. Readable men narrate their thinking. "I was thinking that maybe. I felt like I should. I wasn't sure, so I decided." This exposes internal process, and exposed process can be challenged, dissected, and manipulated. Unreadable men do not narrate process. They present outcomes. "I decided. I'm not doing that. This is handled." No story, no justification, no internal access. This is why people stop questioning them, because there is nothing to grab onto. Language, when used incorrectly, becomes a confession. When used correctly, it becomes a wall. In the next part, you'll learn how your body betrays you even when your words don't, and how stillness alone can shut tests down without a single sentence spoken. You before you speak. Long before a word leaves your mouth, the test has already begun. Human beings read bodies faster than language. Posture, movement, stillness, breathing, eye behavior. These signals are processed instantly, subconsciously, and mercilessly. This is why many men believe they handled it well verbally, yet still lose respect. Their words were fine. Their body wasn't. A man being tested often doesn't realize his body has already answered. He shifts his weight when challenged. His shoulders tighten, his hands fidget, his head tilts slightly forward as if seeking approval. His breathing becomes shallow. His eyes overreact, widening, darting, blinking faster. These are not random habits. They are biological submission cues, and testers are wired to notice them. Not consciously, instinctively. The body reveals urgency. Urgency reveals need. Need reveals vulnerability. Unreadable men train the opposite. They become economical with movement. When challenged, they do not rush. They do not lean forward. They do not fill space nervously. They slow down. Stillness is not passivity. Stillness is control. In any interaction, the man who moves less controls the tempo. The man who controls the tempo controls perception. The man who controls perception controls the interaction. This is why powerful figures appear calm even in chaos, not because they feel nothing, but because they do not leak. Their body does not chase the moment. The moment adjusts to them. Another key factor is orientation. Readable men orient toward pressure. When someone confronts them, they angle their body forward, as if pulled by the test. Unreadable men remain square, grounded, unmoved. They do not pursue approval. They do not retreat from tension. They hold position. This creates a subtle psychological imbalance. The tester feels exposed because pressure was expected to cause movement, and it didn't. Eye contact plays a similar role. Readable men overcorrect, too much staring, or too much avoidance. Both signal emotional investment. Unreadable men maintain neutral eye contact, unforced, unreactive, present but not seeking dominance or validation. They don't try to win the moment. They let the moment reveal the other person. Even facial expression matters. Most men unconsciously explain with their face. Apologetic micro-smiles, concerned brow furrows, tension around the mouth. These are emotional subtitles. Unreadable men reduce expression, not to emptiness, but to neutrality. Neutrality creates ambiguity. Ambiguity creates caution. Caution ends testing. This is why body control matters more than clever responses. You can say the right words and still fail if your body tells a different story. But when your body remains calm, still, unhurried, and grounded, most tests never escalate. They die quietly, because the tester senses something dangerous. There is no opening. In the next part, you'll learn why availability itself makes you readable, and how distance silently restores authority without confrontation. Why availability makes you readable, and how withdrawal ends testing. Most men don't lose power because they fail tests. They lose power because they are too available to be tested. Availability creates familiarity. Familiarity creates pattern recognition. Pattern recognition creates predictability, and predictability invites pressure. When you are always reachable, always responsive, always willing to explain, people learn your rhythms. They learn how long it takes you to reply, what tone makes you defensive, what questions make you overtalk, what silence makes you uncomfortable. At that point, testing becomes effortless. This is why men who are constantly present are rarely respected. Not because they lack value, but because their value is too accessible. Unreadable men understand a harsh truth. Access is leverage, so they control it. They are not emotionally distant. They are structurally distant. They do not respond immediately. They do not clarify everything. They do not make themselves endlessly available for discussion. This creates psychological asymmetry. The one who waits wonders. The one who wonders loses ground. Distance forces others to fill gaps with imagination, and imagination almost always assigns power upward. This is why powerful men seem busy even when they're not. Why their replies are brief. Why their presence feels selective. They are not performing mystery, they are enforcing boundaries. Another mistake readable men make is emotional accessibility. They share reactions freely. They vent. They process out loud. They invite commentary on their inner state. This feels authentic, but it creates dependency. Once people know your emotional landscape, they navigate it. They avoid what displeases you. They press what destabilizes you. They use your openness to steer outcomes. Unreadable men do not outsource emotional processing. They feel deeply, but privately. They do not give others raw access to unprocessed emotion. They do not explain inner turbulence. They do not seek relief through disclosure, because relief trades control for comfort. And comfort is temporary. Control compounds. This doesn't mean isolation, it means selectivity. Unreadable men choose who gets proximity, who gets explanation, who gets emotional access. Everyone else gets professionalism, calm, consistency. This confuses manipulators, because manipulators rely on emotional hooks, and there are none. The final shift happens when you stop trying to manage perception. Readable men want to be seen correctly. Unreadable men accept being misunderstood. Misunderstanding is not danger. It is insulation. People project onto what they cannot read, and projection keeps them cautious. This is the paradox. The less you try to control how you're perceived, the more control you gain over the interaction. At the highest level, unreadability is not a tactic. It is a posture toward the world. You are no longer explaining yourself to feel safe. You are no longer reacting to prove strength. You are no longer accessible to every probe. You move when you choose. You speak when it serves. You disclose when it benefits you. And once this posture settles in, something fundamental changes. People stop testing you. Not because you dominated them, not because you argued well, not because you intimidated them, but because there is nothing to grab. No urgency, no emotional leakage, no predictable response. And where there is no leverage, there is no attempt to apply pressure. That is the psychology of men who are never questioned. Not louder, not crueler, not more aggressive, just unreadable, and therefore untouchable.